How do you go from an 11-seat bar to over 24 locations, serving 1.2 million people a year in a short 16 years? Well, that's exactly what the owners of Jack Brown's Joint has done. They've been able to leverage the trust that they build in their employees and paired that up with one of the most impressive loyalty programs in the business. So why do they need me? Well, they understand what got them here isn't going to get them there. So that's why I brought in John Reed. We've been developing the new advanced leadership system for them over the last 7 months. We're about to go over the game plan about how we're going to execute and implement it into Jack Brown Joint's ecosystem. JT, we've been in talks and development with this program with Jack Brown Joint, 24 locations, highly successful, 16 short years, but they're bringing us in because they want to keep growing and they want to grow responsibly, right? They want to grow successfully. And so we've been working with them for the last 7 months. They've made their messaging clear, right? We want to develop our people, our culture, our systems, and our leadership. So what do we do to show them how to prevent those cracks? Because obviously when you grow anytime, start showing the cracks. And so how do we, A, make sure that they can identify the cracks so they don't turn into holes, and then B, maybe even prevent the cracks?
One of the things I thought was great about Jack Brown Joint and Aaron specifically was his willingness to invite another restaurateur in for a fresh set of eyes. You know, growth is hard and growth stretches you. And the pendulum, of your systems tend to overcorrect sometimes. And speaking to Aaron, I think one of the things that you would agree, he didn't want that corporate structure. He wanted lanes. Helping him develop those lanes and put systems in place that were scalable for the growth, I think is our number one priority.
So, one thing they were really afraid of is systems, corporate, right? People think systems, they think corporate. And in a place like JBJ's, they have a very laid back philosophy, which has got them where they're at. But now they're growing and those cracks are showing and they have to pave over those cracks with some systems. They just have to do it. And so, I believe in the philosophy of substance and style, right? Substance is a system. Style is the person being able to have some autonomy, give their personality, et cetera, et cetera. That could be a server and that could be a manager or GM, right? I believe in 70-30, 70% substance, right? We need those systems. We need those guidelines, those consistencies, and 30%, this is how we do it at this location. This is how I do it personally, right? As a server, for example, I show my personality. What is your philosophy on that when it comes to style and substance?
Completely agree. The corporate world tells us it's this or that. And I think in small business, especially at this stage of their growth at 24 locations, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's a little bit of substance and a little bit of style. Our goal with Train, Coach, Cut, the 3 views of a manager, right? The ABCs of hiring, these items are very generic guidelines, right? To help drive awareness with our management team, to keep them focused on the goals ahead, but gives them the flexibility to do it stylistically, makes the most sense for their store.
I agree. And as we go into this restaurant, this group, right? They have 90 managers, right? We're going to talk to them all tomorrow. And that's a lot, right, for a business. I mean, managing 90 people is tough. Managing 90 managers is a whole nother ballpark because they're managing people. Over the last 20 years, the problem I've seen in the industry is there's no leadership development. So if I'm a manager, for example, I get promoted, let's say, or I get hired on, all of a sudden I'm being trained how to manage. Here's how you count the drawer. Here's where the POS system is. Here's where all the numbers are, right? Here's our P&L. It's all managers, but there's no training. I mean, it's like non-existent on here's how you handle people. Here's how you hold people accountable, right? Here's how you guest recover. Here's how you take the temperament of your team. Here's emotional intelligence training. It's non-existent. I've worked at very nice restaurants, but their fatal flaw is their leadership development. There is none. So, like in your opinion, how important is that approach?
Huge. I like the fact that with 90 managers, you have the full spectrum of leaders, right? You have young, green, new leaders. You have veteran leaders, right? What system works for both parties, right? What gets them on a level playing field? That's what our development process looks like and advanced leadership looks like that you and I have been developing.
Your standards are your standards. They're controlled by who? Who's solely in control of them? Not me. I'm joking. That was a joke. Yes, you. You are in control of your own standards. That's it, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't control my standards. Aaron can't control my standards. JT can't control my standards. My wife can't control my standards. The only person who can control my standards is me. So if they're going up or they're going down, it's because of me, my decisions. Now, there's something that you're going to have to be aware of. Your ego and your pride will get in the way of your standards. And they'll negotiate with you to tell you, oh, Wait, you don't have to do it. You can lower your standards. It's okay. You're not really lowering your standards, but you are. But maybe they won't notice. Or you're justified, right? You were late to work because of X, Y, and Z, right? I cut corners because of X, Y, and Z. My managers didn't do this. That's why. My employees aren't doing this. I wasn't given the tools. And you start negotiating with yourself to lower your standards. But you have to remember, at the end of the day, no matter what, you're either raising or lowering your standards that day. Bottom line, you walk into work, am I keeping up the standards or am I lowering them? Most people will lower them at the end of the day, some way, shape, or form. Why? Because it's easier. Because it's really hard to hold up your standards in the face of adversity. When it's challenging, when it's tough. You're having a good day, you're having a great day, all the staff comes in on time, freaking Aaron's giving you praise, you just got a raise, you're like, oh yeah, no problem. I'm going to do backflips. I don't care. I'm going to go above and beyond. It's the days that are challenging. That's a true testament and vision of your standards.
Hire slow, fire fast. Now let's see who's really brave. Who has a toxic or cancer or person who's not holding the standard inside their four walls? It's easier to keep the status quo because it's inconvenient for who? You. But you're the ones who have to do the work regardless. You have to put out the fire when that person creates an issue. Do you not? When they don't come to work on time. Do you not? When you have to cover their shift. They have a shitty attitude. You're like, I'm working 60 hours a week to support you, but you're afraid to let that person go because it's more work for you. What is more work for you? Putting up with it or getting rid of it? We all do this. We have a slogan at all of my companies, very similar to this, which is fail fast, fix faster. Anytime you're moving in that direction with a large group of people, right, failure is going to happen. We can define what failure is. Sometimes it's just a misstep, but failure is going to happen. There's nothing worse than being in the bunker, right, a military analogy, and you're all shooting at the enemy, and all of a sudden a bullet whizzes by your head, and you're like, what? And you turn around and it's one of your own people. You ever come around the corner and people are talking about you or the culture? I don't get it. I don't get why they're growing, right? Concept's not that great. Why would you want that person in your four walls? Make sure that you're protecting the right people. Not the ones that have been here for 15 years, 10 years, 11 years, 7 years. They should be in alignment with company goals. Protect the ones that show up for you.
All right, so unconditional hospitality. You're not expecting anything in return. So unconditional can mean a lot of things. That's what I'm looking for, though. You're not expecting anything in return. I'm giving unconditional hospitality. By nature, hospitality is unconditional. You're not expecting anything in return. You just want them to feel comfortable. You want them to enjoy themselves. That's why you're giving them hospitality in your house. That's the reason. And that's why hospitality by nature is unconditional. I'm not expecting anything back. I'm doing this to make you feel a certain way. It's a kindness. And so that's what we want to focus on, unconditional hospitality. We have to train that to our staff. We are here to give unconditional hospitality. So you guys made a commitment to work at Jack Brown's to give hospitality, to give the guests the best experience possible. What do you think everyone's in this room's job description is? You guys have all one job description. Everyone, back of the house, front of the house, bartender, whatever. We all have one job. Not just in this room, but across the whole entire 500 employees that are here. What do you think that job is? We're all here to give the guests the best experience possible. That's why we exist.
Right, when the guest walks into your joint, and the first thing they see is a dirty bar stool or a dirty table, what's the expectation for the experience? They don't know the guest left 2 seconds before they walked in. They don't care. What do they see, right? And when you're in your environment, right, that basement, home feel bar concept, but half the people that walk through your door, they're like, well, it's at the local dive bar. It's a local basement bar, right? No, right? That's not who we are. And that's why you exceed expectations, because the quality of your products are so good. And that expectation, I walk in, right, it's supposed to feel authentic and unique and different. And it doesn't mean dirty, right? It just means different. It means comfortable. Being a manager, being a manager sucks. It does. I was a manager for a lot of years before I became an owner. It's hard. You're getting it from this angle, you're getting it from this angle, you have a pissed off guest, right? I got an email I didn't respond to, all right? The owner, you're lucky, your ownership team, right? So being a manager, you're constantly in the middle like, ugh, right? The employee didn't show up and no one cares.
What's one philosophy we can live by? 1% better a day, Kaizen. 1% better a day. You should be asking yourself every night. You should set an alarm on your phone to go off and say Kaizen, and then ask yourself when that alarm goes off, what did I do? 1%. If I didn't do 1%, then what am I going to do tomorrow? But I need to stay focused on that. Because here's what happens with most people, right? They hear something that makes sense to them. They like it. They agree with it. They start getting all these ideas in their head. Next morning they wake up. I'll start applying that once I get all this stuff off my plate, get this day out of my way, and then they go back to normal, right? All of a sudden it goes into the review mirror, and they're like, wait, what is that thing Preston was talking about? I can't, well, whatever, right? Tomorrow, today, right? Set that alarm today. Ask yourself today, what am I going to do to get that 1% better? Not after I'm done with this thing, today. What am I going to do to be 1% better? What kind of mindset do we want to focus on as well? Infinite mindset. Do you guys agree with that? Every decision you make, is it finite or is it finite or is it infinite? That's what you should be asking yourself. Things will start changing, but you have to think about them every single day.
One of the things that Preston brought me back to was making these inspirational, right? And making these not about products, but about behavior. And I had gotten away from that. And I invited him in, and he's like, you're doing them. I see them, right? They're checking the box, but they're just data dumping on people. And I was like, let me mosey back into the restaurants, right? Because that's definitely not what it's supposed to be. And sure enough, the first thing the manager opened with the special, and I'm like, shit, we've lost sight. That's not motivating people. A great pre-shift is about alignment. How many people are in this room? 60, 70 people, maybe more, all right? If all of you have your own individual pre-shifts, then your staff is hearing like a lot of different messages. So on Monday they get one, on Tuesday they get another, on Wednesday they get a third, right? I don't know about you, I don't learn that way. We need repetition. We need to pick a common theme for the week and stick to that theme, right? We need to build off of that theme. What's the one thing hospitality-wise you're gonna do? Every day, my team submit the hospitality moment of the day. They submit it every day. I get just hundreds of emails, but I wanna know that they're doing it, and they've taken it on in life of their own. In pre-shift, it's about getting that hospitality moment front and center, right? And making sure that we have knowledge front and center. What do I mean by that, which you're gonna see here shortly? The moment you walk away from a guest and you don't know what you don't have, or has been 86th, or is out, you've lost credibility. The moment you walk away and you don't know where to pivot when you're out of one IPA, but I can put you into another one with a similar profile, you lost credibility. That's where pre-shift needs to land. Is pick common themes within your individual joints and run those themes until you see consistency in those themes.
Your standard as a leader is going to uphold it. So if you lower it, you're lowering the joint standard. If you're raising it, you're raising the joint standard. Now the problem is, a lot of times our standards get lowered because we're afraid to have those conversations with the staff that we need to have, right? That's where our voice gets stifled. You see something and you're like, I want to say something, but I can't. I want to talk to him, but I don't feel like it. I don't know how. Does anybody have that situation? I want to hold someone accountable, but I kind of just don't know how to approach it the right way without pissing them off, without causing a rift. I don't want to get into an argument. I want to avoid that confrontation. Do you guys ever deal with that? So this is a very important tool. Has anybody seen Moneyball? So there's a great scene where Brad Pitt tells Jonah Hill, he goes, I'm going to have you talk about trading the players. And he goes, okay, how do I do it? And he goes, you sit down with them and say, you've been traded to this team. We appreciate everything you've done for us. The bus is waiting for you outside. Thank you very much. And he's like, wait, I don't need to tell him like I'm sorry or this or I got. He said, no, just it's all business. You've been traded. Thank you very much. The bus is waiting outside. Really appreciate it. And that's how accountability conversations go. Hey, we have this standard. You know it. You unfortunately didn't follow today, so it's going to be a verbal warning. Next time we'll go to a written. Let's not do that, okay? Let's work as a team and just build the standards, keep the standards up, all right? Can we do that together? I want to, help me help you, right? Versus like, okay, so can you sit down? So today you didn't dress in uniform, so from now on you have to dress in uniform. Just business. Pleasant, smiling, it's business. And is that cool, right? Am I asking you anything crazy to come in uniform just like everyone else? Little things like that will go a long way, but you have to find your voice. And I know right now, most of you probably have one person you could think of in your joint where you're like, I really need to freaking talk to that person, and I've been avoiding it. And I know it's detrimental to the business.